Amen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be starting in a few moments, so we invite you to take your seat.
Amen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be starting in a few moments, so we invite you to take your seat. Hopefully, it won't be like that all afternoon, right?
Amen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be starting in a few moments, so we invite you to take your seat. Hopefully, it won't be like that all afternoon. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Together with my colleagues from the United Nations Capital Development Fund, it is my great honor to welcome you to the launch of the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub. As we all know, digital financial inclusion has many facets, especially when looking at it from the digital lens. And the diversity of organizations and stakeholders represented in this room is really a testament to the diversity of challenges and the diversity of solutions that we must work on collectively and with a sense of urgency to ensure that women across the country are not left behind in the transition to the digital economy. This afternoon, and this is what this event is all about, we will take stock and take the first step to establish fruitful, meaningful, impactful collaborations. And before I invite our first speaker to open the event, I would like to welcome those of you who are following us online because this event is being live streamed. And you have probably seen, for those of you who are here with us in this room, that interpretation is available in Amharic if you need this service. The device can be found at the back of this room. And last but not least, masks are highly recommended in this venue, so we really encourage you to keep your mask on throughout the event. And for those who want to publish and follow this conversation on social media, the hashtag is for the hub. It's her economy too. And with this, I would now like to give the floor to Mr. Mamadou Diane Balde, the UN resident coordinator, for his opening statement.
Good afternoon. Thank you Thank you so much. I am representing Catherine Sozi, the UN resident coordinator. I myself, I am the UNISHA representative, but for the next few days, I am acting as resident coordinator. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, and distinguished guests, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you to the launch of the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub in Addis Ababa. On behalf of the UN in Ethiopia, it is not only a pleasure, but it's also high time to welcome you to this event. I am very happy to see many representatives from partners in this room, private sector, the donors, but also women and men who are thriving and trying to make sure that digital financial inclusion is a reality in this country. The event today is a testimony of the commitment we all have made to address the barriers that prevent women from being included in our economies and our societies. This event comes at a particularly exciting time for Ethiopia as we embrace a wave of digital transformation that all will open new opportunities for thousands of people here. In this fast-paced and constantly changing world, it is essential to recognize that we need new and inclusive solutions for the prevalent challenges that are faced, that we are all facing in Ethiopia, but also in the region and our world. Within this context, the WDFI Advocacy Hub is a key initiative providing a multi-stakeholder platform dedicated to advocating for women financial and digital inclusion and enabling practical solutions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this initiative is designed to promote local change with women at the center and to support local partners to work towards improving the resilience of communities. Moreover, it recognized the importance of supporting and strengthening local organization and community networks as key instruments to build sustainability. Today's launch, this afternoon's launch, is a highlight in our collective obligation to achieve gender equality and empower women economically, digitally, as well as financially. By building women's capacities and skills and encouraging female leadership, we can accelerate change. Let me end by one more time, in the name of the United Nations in Ethiopia, by reiterating our support for this initiative and by confirming our commitment to deliver on this direction. So thank you so much, Amasagenalo, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dian Balde. There is indeed a high representation of partners, from a variety of sectors in this room. And thank you also for reiterating your support to this initiative. We will now listen to a video message from Ms. Preeti Shinya, Executive Secretary of the UN Capital Development Fund.
Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends. As the Executive Secretary of the UN Capital Development Fund, the UN's flagship catalytic finance entity for the world's 46 LDCs, which we see as the frontier markets of today and the growth markets of tomorrow, I am very pleased to welcome you to the launch of the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub. As the world still attempts to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and its devastating consequences, it is fundamental to ensure that governments put women at the center of their economic recovery plans and ensure that women's digital financial inclusion is a priority among national, regional, and global decision makers. It will only be a true recovery if these plans are for all. Too many women across Africa, and in Ethiopia in particular, are left behind in the transition to the digital economy. Financial transactions to pay utility bills, receive wages, and receive government payments are still largely cash-based. At the same time, a large part of the population lacks access to digital financial services, DFS. At UNCDF, we partner with diverse stakeholders to implement reforms and initiatives that enable women to lead successful, financially secure lives. The Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub is a catalyst for collective action that aims to accelerate change in policies and practices so that women can thrive and economies can prosper. Ethiopia has been selected as one of the priority countries for the WDFI Advocacy Hub. We see many opportunities to accelerate change in relevant policies and practices, especially in light of recent government initiatives such as the National Financial Inclusion Strategy and the Digital Payment Strategy. We believe the timing is right to build on this momentum and create more collaboration opportunities that ensure women are not left behind as the country transitions to a digital economy. We are gathered today because we know that our individual actions, while absolutely critical, are no longer sufficient to close the gender gaps in digital financial inclusion. In closing, let me say that our collective efforts can create concrete results for many women across Ethiopia, who can then make an informed choice on their financial future. My call to action is this: it is time for us to unite. Welcome to the WDFI Advocacy Hub. We look forward to working with all of you, and I wish you a very productive meeting.
After this vibrant call to action and collaboration from UNCDF and our Executive Secretary, it is now my honor to introduce Her Excellency, Mrs. Semereta Sewaso, State Minister of Finance. Your Excellency, welcome. You have the floor.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I would first of all like to apologize on behalf of my minister, His Excellency Ato Ahmed Shide, who was supposed to be here for this opening. I'm giving this remarks on his behalf. Excellencies, dear colleagues, good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here with you today to celebrate the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub launch. In the past 2 years, the Ethiopian government has been implementing broad-based political, economic, and social reforms to help us secure inclusive growth and tackle poverty. I'm sure you would all agree with me the potential of women remains one of the most significant untapped resources we have for economic transformation. The increasing focus and diligent work on financial inclusion, particularly on women's financial inclusion, reaffirm our recognition of the tremendous yet untapped potential that Ethiopian women and girls growing up in our economy and society play. Supporting women's digital financial inclusion enables women to participate in the labor force and have more control over their assets, establish and access funding to grow formal business and make their own financial choice. Creating the right incentives for women to access and use financial services and offering digital products that meet their needs is vital to enhancing trust in the financial system and empowering them to lift themselves and their communities. Ethiopia has one of the lowest financial institution account ownership rates, and we continue to see prevalence gender gaps in education, income, and employment. Much remains to be done to ensure women benefit from digital services, especially those that live in rural and marginalized communities. In recognition of women's untapped economic role, Our government has developed policies, strategies, and is following through with concrete actions. In 2020, the government launched its digital strategy for 2025. And last year, we launched the National Digital Payment Strategy and the Refresh and National Financial Inclusion Strategy. These three interlinked policy frameworks will not only digitalize and transform the financial sector, but also address the widening financial sector gender gap. In line with Ethiopia's reputation as one of the few African countries to use gender-responsive budgeting, our financial sector and inclusion policies employ a specific gender lens. We have set ambitious goals and targets in our financial inclusion strategy. The achievements of these goals require robust coordination among key actors, including government, private actor, and international partners, and accountability mechanisms for promoting gender equality within government structure. I firmly believe the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub, through the Ethiopian Coalition, will play a pivotal role in integrating Ethiopian women's needs in the national economic and financial sector development strategies and bringing together diverse stakeholders to accelerate progress towards a brighter and more inclusive future for all. To harness digital technologies to build more inclusive economies, we need more resources in unprecedented levels of scale, scope, and quality. Concerted efforts are needed to accelerate our investment in infrastructure, digital ID payments, and financial services, and address structural causes of inequality that hinder progress towards women's digital financial inclusion. We also believe this advocacy hub gives us the platform we need to coordinate all actors towards achieving the financial inclusion goals. Today, I'm pleased to be part of the launch of the Women's Financial Inclusion Hub, and I am confident that it will take us forward to addressing gender inequality in our country. The utilization of such kinds of coalition hubs embodied for the collective determination to forge ahead and work to making sure that we leave no one behind. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have a significant role to play. I encourage you all today to respond to this call of action and work to build the foundation of an inclusive economy through innovation, infrastructure, and gender international policies. I would also like to thank the National Capital Development Fund for advocating for and providing substantial support to our government to improve the financial landscape towards inclusion and create better opportunities for gender equality. I look forward to a productive engagement with the UNCDF and all partners in meeting our financial inclusion goals and realizing the potential of women and girls in Ethiopia. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You have pointed to two important challenges that also have potential to become main task or important task for the Advocacy Hub, being a catalyst for change and sharing resources. And this should definitely be at the core of the Ethiopia Coalition. So thank you for adding your voice to this important milestone. Please now join me in welcoming Ms. Miriam Said, Senior Advisor on Digital Transformation at the Office of the Prime Minister.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today at the launch of the Women Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub. Digital transformation and women digital financial inclusion is an important topic for economic and social development, and thus around the world. Through Digital Ethiopia, our national digital transformation strategy, the government of Ethiopia has committed to implementing the building blocks for an inclusive digital economy. We have defined our building blocks to be the establishment of a national digital ID, interoperable payment platforms, e-government applications, and the creation of an enabling environment for e-commerce. Inclusivity is at the heart of our strategies. To be sustainable, our efforts need to ensure that everyone is supported and empowered to make informed choices on their future. The potential that interoperable payment systems, mobile money services, and access to e-markets, alongside the implementation of a foundational digital ID, can tremendously benefit women. We here have the opportunity to leverage the brilliance, a word that's usually associated to men, but the brilliance of women, and thus by creating platforms for inclusive dialogue between government, private sector, civil society, academia, and local stakeholders and development partners. It is imperative to understand the social norms that limit access and use of financial services, to discuss women access to IDs, to discuss women access to mobile phones, to discuss attitude concerning women paid and unpaid work. These social norms negatively affect women's ability to benefit from economic opportunities and to contribute to our economies. This requires going beyond the supply side solutions. We need to encourage the launch of products specifically designed for women. We need to adopt a new mindset that embraces the disruption of technology while putting women's needs at the forefront. Inclusive finance promotes growth, ensures prosperity is shared across all segments of the population, but today is our chance to renew our commitment to ensure that women, especially those who are the most excluded, are not only beneficiaries of our strategies and policies, but are an integral part of them. This is why I'm excited today to attend the WDFI Advocacy Hub and the Ethiopia Coalition, which is in itself an innovative model that leverages local solutions to accelerate change. I strongly believe that it will provide concrete opportunities to scale innovative initiatives that respond to the challenges women face in playing an active role in the digital economy. I look forward to hearing from the diverse panelists today in the next session about the concrete opportunities for collaboration through the hub. Together, we can build a new chapter for Ethiopia, because when women move, the country moves with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Said. As you just said, it is important to understand the social norms that affect women's ability to leverage economic opportunities through digital technology. And most organizations gathered here are committed to this. But today, as you said, is our chance to reaffirm this commitment to women's digital financial inclusion. And that statement rings true today more than ever. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to hear more about what the Hub can actually do. For anyone who wants to understand some of the key challenges and opportunities to increase women's access and use of digital financial services in Ethiopia, a number of questions have already been answered in the past 30 minutes. But of course, many more remain open, and one at least should be answered at this stage. Where is the need, where is the urgency for an advocacy platform to address those issues? And I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Mariana Lopez from UNCDF, to walk us through what the Hub will actually do in the next month. Mariana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Annie. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm really happy today to have the opportunity to talk about my favorite topic, but also one of the United Nations' more important areas for action. The Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub is our flagship initiative. Ethiopia is our priority country, and we're honored to be here with you today. When we say women's digital financial inclusion, well, first, it's a very long sentence. We often say WDFI for short, but what does that really mean? Let's break it down. When we think about financial inclusion, we think about offering everybody the opportunity to make a choice about the formal financial services that they can leverage to improve their lives, those of their families, their communities, and their national economies. And I'm talking about a wide range of services. Think a bank account, a mobile money account, being able to apply for a loan, having insurance, having the opportunity to save. When we say digital financial inclusion, what we mean is having the opportunity to access all of these formal financial services through digital means. The importance of this is that through digital technology, formal financial services can be faster, more convenient, safer, and often more affordable. So why do we care about women when we talk about digital financial inclusion? The reality is that the majority of women face greater challenges than men to access digital financial services. For example, we know that women are often less likely to have access to an ID. This means that they cannot apply for a bank account. This means that they cannot register for mobile money. They often need permission, authorization from their husbands. They have busy lives. Women get up in the morning, they go to the fields, they come back, they take care of the children, they clean, they cook. They have limited mobility. It's very difficult, if not sometimes unsafe, for women to travel long distances to be able to then register for a bank account. And if on top of that, then they face a male agent that doesn't care about them as customers, that doesn't really understand their needs, then it's even more difficult. But it's not only about women who live in rural areas or who are disadvantaged. There are so many opportunities for young, vibrant women that want to start a business, that want to be part of the gig economy. And for us to enable them to tap into that potential, we need to make sure that they have that choice to inform their businesses, to inform the things that they want to do, and allow them to lead the way so that they can contribute even more to the growth of their economies. So, go to the next slide. Why now? The reason why we came up with the WDFI Advocacy Hub was because we realized that, thankfully and finally, gender is getting the attention it deserves. In the past couple of years, we have seen a lot of partners make commitments. The government, civil society, private sector, they are finally waking up to the need to do more about this. But those commitments happen at the global level. There is very often a connection between those global commitments and the local solutions on the ground. How can we change that? How can we make sure that those words, those speeches, those very motivating and inspiring words for action actually translate into practical solutions that impact women's lives? This is what the Advocacy Hub is about. It's about encouraging the bridge between global and local and bringing different voices into the fore. Why Ethiopia? Well, first, because it's a fantastic and beautiful country, and we are so excited and happy to be here. But second, because Ethiopia is undergoing a digital transformation. There is momentum around innovation. There is momentum around digital payments. There are new players coming into the market. And yet, there's also a very big risk that if we don't think about women and put their needs at the center of this transformation, we are going to leave them behind. So this is the reason why we're here today with you, to encourage you, inspire you, and learn from you to ensure that those commitments translate into action. How are we going to do this? Collaboration is a tricky word. Partnerships are a tricky word. Our commitment to you as UNCDF is to enable a coalition of different partners and members from all sectors of society. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance to be part of the conversation and that we support them in a way that enables you as the country decision makers and influencers to really select those issues that you care the most about. This is not about us coming with our agenda and imposing the things that we want to see. This is about us facilitating dialogue and ensuring that everybody has an opportunity to share what they know, what they've learned, what they care about. Our commitment to you is to support that coalition through training, capacity building, learning sessions, technical assistance. Our intention is to work closely with all of the members of the Ethiopia Coalition to identify those pathways for action that lead to gender intentional policies, as well as products and services that actually meet women's needs. We also commit to ensuring that there is visibility of this work at the global level. Let's flip it around. Rather than learning from the global, let's allow those stakeholders at the regional and global level to learn from the work on the ground. Let's open those doors for the Ethiopia Coalition members to showcase their work, to get the deserved recognition for the value that they're adding, and ultimately to garner more support from other partners, from other donors, to ensure that the solutions that they are driving are sustainable. When do we start? Right now. This is our first official activity in the country, but it's only the beginning. What we hope will become a growing coalition of members that are driving action starts today. We're hoping that this session today, the participation of our distinguished speakers, the panel session that we are about to witness, gets you to that right set of mind and really gets you to work with us in a meaningful way. We are going to be looking at different expressions of interest from different members to join this Ethiopia Coalition. As much as we would love to partner with all of you, we have to start small if you want to be impactful. That is the reason why we're taking the time to really get to know you and learn who are those partners that have strong local networks, strong local outreach, and at the same time, and more importantly, a real commitment to really advance gender equality in the country. So in terms of a timeline, because that is always helpful, we are going to be taking the expressions of interest and applications from all of you to join the Ethiopia Coalition this month. Our intention is to have our first meeting with all the members in July, and then to get started. We want to get down to training during the summer. We have a fantastic partnership with the Fletcher School that offers a course on leadership in financial inclusion. And for the first time, they're offering it to not only policymakers, but also civil society members and the private sector through the Ethiopia Coalition. We are very excited to already have selected some trainees from the National Bank of Ethiopia, and we're hoping that the members of the coalition will also join them, not only to get to a level playing field when it comes to training, but also to establish those personal connections and understanding that are central to ensure that any decision that is made, that any project that we support through the Ethiopia Coalition is, again, impactful and meaningful. By November, we're hoping to have our first advocacy campaign. And this matters because we want to hear from you, but also support you to have a unified voice. We know that a message is strong if it comes from everybody and if it's united. Hence why advocacy and engagement are a central part of this work. And last but not least, by December, we are hoping to have a selection of projects, ideas, initiatives that we as the United Nations Capital Development Fund are going to fund and channel resources into so that they can become a reality. We know that collaboration is tricky. We know that there are many pieces that are part of this. So our commitment is to ensure that those ideas become a reality and to enable the plane to take off. So this is my call to action to all of you. First things, let us get to know you. Come talk to us. We want to learn from you. We are really excited about the possibility in the country, but we want your guidance. We want to understand what are your priorities, what are your objectives, what has worked in the past. So come talk to us. We have a fantastic, if yet small team, but we're very eager to connect with you on a personal level and also to better understand what are the things you care the most about and what are the gaps that you see in current initiatives. We want to ensure that we add value, and for us to be certain of that, it has to come from you. And of course, there are two ways to join us. As I said, we're looking for a very small yet engaged number of members. So if you're interested, please have a look at the terms of reference that were given to you when you registered. You'll have more details there. You'll find more information about the specific opportunities that we are prepared to offer, as well as the type of commitment that we expect from our members. Another option is to join our advocacy network. We understand that even though we can only work with a certain number of partners, there's opportunity for all of us to be part of this transformation and to ensure that women are part of it. So we're very eager to connect with all of you in those different ways and to enable those opportunities to connect. So let me wrap up by saying, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for your drive. We feel inspired by all of you, and we are genuinely committed to making sure that women are not left behind. This is a strategic area for the United Nations and a personal passion of mine. So on behalf of my team, thank you so much for being here, and please come talk to us.
Thank you, Mariana, for this overview. I think it is clear now that we are preparing for both a marathon and a sprint. And now that we are getting to the what, when, where, and how of the Advocacy Hub, it is crucial to align also on this simple yet very important question, why now? So thank you for this call to action. There are, as Mariana just said, 2 ways to join us, but countless opportunities to collaborate. The question is how and how fast, because as we also know, this is a race against time, and our panel will actually elaborate on that in a few moments. We are now opening the second part of this event, and I want to thank again our distinguished speakers for their inspiring keynotes and encouraging statements. And now that we've heard about why we need to act, it is time to talk about how. How are we going to collaborate to collectively advance and even accelerate the pace of change? And it is my pleasure to invite Mrs. Marta Haile Mariam from the National Bank of Ethiopia for her opening remarks before the panel discussion.
Thank you. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, good afternoon. Let me start by expressing how pleased I am to be here representing the National Bank of Ethiopia at the launching of these important initiatives, the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub. We are here because we want to put women at the center of Ethiopian economy development, ensuring that women's digital financial inclusion becomes a pillar to all stakeholders. This occasion is special because it unites all major Ethiopian stakeholders active in accelerating women's financial and digital inclusion. The WDFI Advocacy Hub is a platform where all of us can engage and work together to improve our financial system and adapt it to women's needs. The National Bank is strongly committed towards advancing women's economy empowerment, digital financial payment, and making financial products and services more accessible, affordable, and understandable to women is central to our national digital payment strategy. Our responsibility is to harness technological development in the financial sphere to promote inclusion, prosperity, and foster resilience by championing adoption of inclusive digital payment. That is the second strategy pillar in the strategy. As we move towards fast-paced digital transformation through the use of more advanced and innovative technologies in the financial sector, we must ensure that nobody is left behind. Everybody, women and men, must have the opportunity to use and access digital financial services that meet their needs. The WDFI Hub is a powerful platform for collaboration. Yet real opportunities and positive change will only emerge if all of us committed to working together for the benefit of Ethiopian women and girls. This platform will succeed as a result of the energy generated by our meaningful and collaborative actions. The event today highlights our chance to make a change for women in Ethiopia, to support them to live financially secure life. Every one of us has a role to play. This is an opportunity for us, ministers, regulators, to ensure policies and regulations narrowing the gender gap for digital financial services to build the stability and growth of the financial system. This is an opportunity for the private sector to better understand its customers and move towards women-centric digital products, and for civil society to leverage the perspectives of the women with whom they work. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I want to close my remarks today by thanking you all again for this opportunity and reiterating that I look forward to working with all of you. We must be ambitious, strive for success, and acknowledge the major role that women play in our economy. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Haile Mariam, for reaffirming the National Bank's commitment to tackling the issues that gather us today and prevent millions of women from using and from accessing services that can positively impact their lives. And in the face of these challenges, the case for a united, concerted effort is even stronger than ever. We're moving now to our panel discussion. And I would like to hand over to our 5 panelists and our moderator, Hawa Gebremeskel, Managing Partner at Unbox Stories, who will lead us through this discussion on how to jointly advance women's digital financial inclusion in Ethiopia. Welcome to you all. And Hawa, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers and invited guests, welcome and good afternoon. Let me start our conversation by, first of all, thanking our panelists for making time from their very busy schedule to come here and share their perspectives and experiences. They are here to join us at this panel because the work that they are doing is engaging and empowering women in both Africa and Ethiopia to participate in the digital financial ecosystem. And so today I'm really excited to learn more from their perspectives. Also myself as a woman entrepreneur in Ethiopia, I'm also participating in the digital financial ecosystem. And I can tell you from experience that our current system is far from being perfect, But at the same time, we've also come a very long way from where we were a few years ago. And I think that such platforms would allow us to come together and work, and, you know, by coming together collaboratively, also that we go to the next stage. So without further ado, I would start by quickly introducing our panelists and who they are, and then we'll jump into the questions. Good. So first I have Matthew, who is the Chief External Affairs and Regulatory Officer at Safaricom, the newest mobile network operator, part of the Vodacom Group. Then I have Saba Medhin, who is the Executive Directress of the Network of Ethiopian Women's Association. The association is seeking to create synergy and stronger advocacy voice for women's advancement. Then I have Jyote Work Gudeta, who is a financial sector specialist from IFC, International Finance Corporation. IFC is the member of the World Bank Group that is advancing economic development by encouraging the growth of the private sector in developing countries like Ethiopia. And then I have Eleni Kiru, who is the head representative to Ethiopia and the African Union at the European Investment Bank. The European Investment Bank is the leading arm of the European Union and the world's largest multinational lender. Then finally, we have Abenezer, who is the Director, Strategy and Change Management at EatSwitch, the national payment switch owned by all private banks, and also the National Bank of Ethiopia. So again, welcome all. So as you can see from our panel, we have a very nice representation of the private sector, civil society organizations, and also developmental organizations, as well as you know, organizations that are not only touching Ethiopia, but also the entire region. And I would like to see if our audience also seconds that. So how many of you in the room are from the private sector? If you can raise your hands. Not bad, okay. We are well represented, I think. And how many of you are from the civil society? Civil society, very few, okay. And how many of you are from other sectors? Everybody else, I think. All right, thank you. So I hope that you will engage in the conversation and learn a lot from all of them. So starting with the men in the group, I mean the private sector. Matthew, the first question goes to you. So building from your experience working in Africa's prominent telecom operator in Africa and also part of the Vodacom Group, why do you think is reaching more women with mobile internet and mobile financial services important? And if you can also tell us what you're doing in Ethiopia in order to accelerate the digital financial inclusion in Ethiopia. Thank you.
Thank you, Salam. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real privilege to be here and to see so many people. Quite a few I've met in my year. This is my year anniversary in Ethiopia. So it's a real honor and a privilege to be here. I think one of the reasons why I'm here is because digital can transform people's lives and transform economies. And the more people who are connected to digital services through telecommunications, through financial services as well, the better. The GSMA did a study a couple of years ago. They estimated in low, middle income countries around 50% of women are connected to the internet. However, there's still 50% who aren't. And the job that we have and everyone in the room has in different ways is to connect the remaining 50%, because it will help people with their lives, whether it's communicating with their family, their friends, whether it's being able to use it to help with their businesses, whether it is to help with their education and skills, and And then the public services that people use, the more services that are digitalized, the more efficient, more effective, and the more it's going to help people with their lives, with their businesses. So that's why we're here, and that's why it's important. In terms of Safaricom Ethiopia, I'm not just representing Safaricom Ethiopia. I'm representing our shareholders, our partners, and when I talk about partners, I talk about the whole of the ICT sector in Ethiopia. That includes Ethio Telecom, ourselves, and many others who are working together to support the digital agenda. And so that's what we're focused on, is every day connecting more people to digital services, financial services. And we're at the start of our journey as Safaricom Ethiopia. A number of other people have been working on this much longer in Ethiopia. And we're really looking forward to being part of it and helping and delivering the services that Ethiopian citizens deserve.
Fantastic. And I think one of the most interesting thing about being new in a market is that you will get a chance to design products and services that can be inclusive. And so you are turning a page, and it's a new beginning. And I really hope that we will see inclusive digital services from Safaricom. Thank you. So my second question goes to Ebenezer. So Ebenezer, if you can also tell us why women can disproportionately benefit from interoperable payment systems that you're offering, and what each which role in enabling women's digital inclusion is in Ethiopia. Thank you.
Thank you, Hawa. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a very important question that you raised. If you see the Ethiopian gender gap, it's wider in terms of bank account ownership. And if you go to the rural areas also, there's high barriers to financial services. And if you see the worldwide data, it's based on my sources, it's believed to be there are more than 1 billion women are not or don't have access to formal financial services due to insufficient funds. There's no sustainable incomes. There's lack of ID documentations as well, and more importantly, access to mobile phones is very limited. And if you see the sub-Saharan Africa, access to feature phones for women is 8% less likely, while and 20% less likely to on the smartphones. And coupled with this, the social and the normal, the cultural norms are undermining women's right to participate in labor forces, control assets, and as well. So we believe that interoperability touches mobile wallet providers, MFIs, government departments, NGOs, card terminals, POS devices as well. So why interoperability? We focus on interoperability because it introduces economies of scale, creates network effects, improve financial inclusion, and it improves financial inclusion because it overcomes the accessibility challenges, and it creates affordability of services. And when we say it overcomes accessibility of challenges, it increases the accessibility and the availability of services. It provides better access to financial service providers as well. So we believe it promotes financial inclusion.
Great. Thank you very much. I think you touched upon the most important pillar, which is access and affordability, because without access, you know, when we are seated in the cities, we tend to overlook that actually the bigger picture is in the rural areas. And so if women in those areas can't access, I think the backbone of our economy can't move forward, and definitely agree with all your points. Thank you. So I think we've touched upon infrastructure, connectivity, and also digital payments. I wanted to ask our audience, how many of you in this room are using mobile money at the moment actively? I'm assuming everybody. How many of you are mobile money? For all the advertisements that we are seeing in the TV and media, I would expect everybody to be part of this. Okay. I think we can see that there's more way to go, even in the cities, but there's definitely a big opportunity. So now changing the gear towards the civil society, I would like to pose the next question to Saba. So Saba, if you can tell us, what do you think is the role of civil society in empowering women economically and also in terms of creating accountability? And feel free also to share us your experience in the from your association. Thank you.
Thank you. Since I'm representing the CSOs, especially women organizations and associations, I think the major work that has been done in the last 2 decades in terms of empowering women economically has been by civil society. Of course, there were opportunities of finance, credit schemes that the government has put, but linking or bringing women into those services has been made channeled through the civil society, especially grassroots women association has played a big role. Now, but even sometimes where we have policies, because Ethiopia has very good policies in terms of women empowerment programs, but are these policies implemented? Are these policies being, utilized by women? There is a lot of problems. So women organizations come in here by advocating and bringing evidence. Usually we say that we assume because there is something good that women and men, benefit equally. Even the services that we are talking about, financial inclusion, digitalization of finance services. Yes, the number of women bringing money into banks and using accounts has increased, but there is no use of diversified financial or digital services used by women. So you cannot assume. That's why we need the civil society to come in, women organizations to collectively and individually bring the agenda forward. I think I also think what is lacking is a gap in this sector, especially because, as you see, there were only 2 or 3 civil societies, because we believe we're not, related to this agenda, but they are working day and night in economically empowering women and holding decision makers, the private sector, government accountable to their commitments of, economically empowering women. So I do believe it's a very major actor in the development, but as well as in benefiting, in making sure that women are at the center of any policy, any service, any new development that's taking place in the country. Is what I can say for now.
A great point. Absolutely. I think writing the policies is one thing, but implementing is a completely different whole game. And we need more organizations like yourself to push this forward. My next question goes to Jyotia Warg, who has been doing a lot of amazing works to support women entrepreneurs like myself. So my question to you would be, how do you think women's financial digital inclusion and ultimately women's empowerment matter for the national growth and the development of the country? Feel free again to reflect from your experiences at IFC and tell us why the acceleration really matters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rahwa, and good afternoon to you all. I'm very pleased to be here at the launch of this very important event. As Rahwa noted earlier, at the International Finance Corporation, private sector development is really at the heart of what we do. towards our mission of reducing poverty and as well as promoting shared prosperity. And in that regard, in fact, we believe gender equality is not only a social or moral imperative, rather a very important instrument for development, very much in line with today's motto of its economy. So in that regard, that's even much more pronounced in countries such as ours, in Ethiopia, where more than 40% of the agricultural labor force and as well as more than 50% of the self-employed that we normally refer to as the entrepreneurs are actually women. So in that sense, and from the various assessments that we've done in Ethiopia and as well as from our experiences on the ground, one constraint many women businesses and entrepreneurs actually face tend to be access to finance, and disproportionately so because of a number of underlying issues related with track record, issues related with collateral, limited opportunities for networking, lack of information, and in general being constrained for time more than their male counterparts. So in that regard, evidence from a number of other African countries actually shows us digital financial inclusion, when combined with tailored skills and literacy programs, could actually support the inclusion of women in general. And in fact, Africa is currently home to unprecedented number of people that have in fact been included because of digital transformation in the past decade. So in that regard, the opportunities are exciting for Ethiopia. And personally, I get excited every time I get to use my Telebr or mobile banking for utility payments, or even to pay my coffee, honestly speaking. And in that regard, I mean, that also means that as more women are included digitally, they also have digital footprints that could actually be used for designing data-based lending products, services, and savings. And that also means financial institutions, but as well as the economy at large, actually gets to do business with women that were, previously excluded from most activities in the economy. That means saving can be mobilized. That also means that, businesses can also be expanded. So the opportunities are really huge.
Absolutely. I'm also really excited every time I get to pay with mobile money transfer or so. I'm carrying as less cash as possible, and absolutely all the points you make are all valid. So Eleni, question comes to you. I learned that Eleni has a very Ethiopian name, and also there was a queen named Eleni also. Just learned that recently. Ethiopian queen, yes. All right. So if you can share with us, so looking at women empowerment from the continental level, the African Union also proclaimed that as the African Women Decade of Women's Financial and Economic Inclusion. So in this line, what is needed to align regional and country efforts and build a unified approach among all the stakeholders who support women's empowerment through digital technology Africa? Thank you.
Thanks, Hawa. Very happy to be with you all here. I'm delighted to see so much traction, I have to say. I've been asked by the organizers to actually help connect the national level with the continental, and I'll stretch it a bit, I'll connect it with the global. And let me start by saying that every day that women and girls are not allowed to live the full lives that they would like to lead, we're all losing out, our societies. So I think that's our starting point. And it's not a matter just of values, it's a matter of economies. So for us at the bank, this is our baseline. We are, the proclamation of the decade, in fact, its inception happened 3 years ago in Kigali, at the MDB Multilateral Development Bank Global Gender Summit. That was the first ideas, the first seeds of the ideas about it. I was there, and I'm delighted to see this coming. And in fact, the AU Decade proclamation is coming at a very opportune moment. And I'm saying opportune because there is a lot of interest globally, as well as Africa focused, to move capital to support women's economic empowerment and gender equality. Now, this is a very important point. it's not a given. And this is a point, this tendency has been around for about 10 years, no longer. Taking the European Investment Bank as an example, in 2019, we joined the 2X Challenge. The 2X Challenge is an initiative launched by the development financial institutions of the G7. We were the first MDB to actually join it. And what the 2X Challenge was is the DFIs, the development finance institutions, came together and they said, we'll put a target. Let's try to move capital and mobilize up to $3 billion for women's economic empowerment globally. And guess what? They reached that target in 2 years. And you know what their target now is? 15 billion. We've already reached $11 billion. The EIB on its own, in 2020, or rather end of 2019, we launched the She Invest. She Invest is an initiative specifically targeting the continent, just the continent. And there we said that we are going to mobilize gender lens investments up to 1 billion euros. We didn't put a time target. Bankers hate time targets. We love money targets, but we hate time targets. So we said we'll mobilize 1 billion euros for gender lens investments in Africa. We reached that before the year ended, which prompted us to renew that commitment, but double it. So for 2021, we said in Africa, we'll have mobilized 2 billion euros in genderless investments. And again, the target was reached before the year end. Now we're looking at She Invest 3. What is interesting, and just focusing on our target, on our subject, that one of the 3 areas, She Invest supports 3 areas. One of them is innovative products and digital digital innovations targeting the women segment, and also access to credit for female entrepreneurs. So in combination to what we're talking about, the decade and all that, digitalization, particularly if we're seeing it as mobile money, right? How you've been very much focusing on mobile payments and mobile money. This is really taking off. In fact, the pandemic has speeded up the digitalization of banking services across the continent. And it offers a huge opportunity, both for growth and development, but also for gender equality, because we've heard about social norms earlier on. It's more difficult if, and the World Bank Group are doing this women business and law survey every year. It's more difficult to open a bank account for women in some countries, but it's easier to get a mobile phone, right? So huge opportunities for financial inclusion there. And the message I want to send out by stressing the point about the appetite of financiers, of investors to move capital for women's economic empowerment is, if we put out these targets, that means we're really looking out for these deals. And I'll finish just by asking, out of the private sector here, how many are bankers? How many are from the financial sector? No one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, Eleni, for bringing this interesting facts. I think the numbers are amazing and quite ambitious. I think in terms of, when women are also given the opportunity to participate in the digital economy, we are also bringing them into the formal market, allowing them to participate, and they pay taxes, they contribute to their families, and this is recognized. And so I believe that this is also bringing another element into the picture, which is building the formal economy, which our country and the continent needs. So the second round of our question will be, I will ask one question that all of you would respond to. So I'll start with Matteo again. So what do you think is the role of initiative like the Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub can play in fostering collaboration and ensuring that women's voices are heard together, and that the digitalization could also be transformed and accelerated. Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, key to achieving the objectives of the country, digital transformation, financial inclusion, is through partnerships. Not one entity is going to be able to achieve it on its own. And so organizations and initiatives like the WDFI Advocacy is going to create a forum to bring all those parties together. And so I welcome those forums. And I think the key thing, like any of these forums, is to get very clear on the objectives, the deliverables, and then bring in the different levels of expertise and know-how to make it a success. So collaboration and partnerships is critical. If I may, I just wanted to add a bit. So what does an entity like Safaricom Ethiopia bring? So we bring expertise and know-how around providing the infrastructure, the telecommunications infrastructure, like Ethiopia Telecom also do. We also bring our expertise and know-how around financial services with M-Pesa. So M-Pesa, which is the leading digital fintech on the African continent. So we hope to bring that expertise and know-how to the country as well. To do that, and this is, I really want to recognise the government. The government have set out a very clear strategy, both the digital strategy 2025, the MBE digital financial inclusion strategy, the macroeconomic plan, the 10-year development plan. These strategies are really important because what it does is it sets a very clear objective and roadmap for all of us to work together on. And that's why we're here, why the shareholders of Safaricom Ethiopia are here, because there's a very clear plan, and we will, with other partners, work to achieve that. So the country has a very clear sort of plan, which we all work together on. The other thing which we'll bring is partnership, both our international experience and know-how and our continental experience and know-how, but also partnership with Ethiopians. And that's really important. We talk about global partnership. And one of the things that's really inspired me since being here in the last year, and I see a number of people around the room that I've met and have become friends with and colleagues with, is particularly the women leaders of the country, both in government, in business. And I meet amazing, talented entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs and male entrepreneurs as well. And what I'm really excited about is the opportunity to partner and work with you. And by doing that together, and there's great examples of innovation in digital being led by women entrepreneurs. I could list many, and that's really exciting. So and really what I see is, through the work that we're going to do together, is creating the platform and the opportunities for women entrepreneurs to grow their businesses and use the services of digital, whether it's telecoms, data, fintech. Critical to that is going to be around skills development. And there's a number of programs already, and we're very much excited to be part of the skills development program. We have lots of examples of where we do things in other countries where the Vodafone family, Safaricom, Vodacom Group operate in, which we can take the examples from elsewhere and that know-how, but the key thing is about tailoring it for the needs of Ethiopia. And that's why the partnerships and the information, the know-how that you provide is going to be critical for us to work together to develop that and develop the digital skills. And that's something we really want to work together on. I could go on, there's lots of other things which are going to help us, but very much looking forward to working with you.
Right, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing more light into the work that Safaricom is doing. Shall I repeat the question? Or?
But I'm sorry that most of the ideas are already said. I don't know. But I think I'm assuming that this hub will be a space for many of us to come and collaborate and integrate, complement our efforts. So one of the things I expected to do is sharing of experiences and the technology, the knowledge. And in that regard, I think it will be well positioned because both the private sector, the public, civil society, and the innovators will be, if they are included, then we can find solution for the challenges that we're seeing for women, especially. And the second thing is, especially coming from the civil society, I do believe there are very well set structures down there at the grassroots level, because whatever we're talking about here, if it's only for the cities, then it's not working. So we can bring those on board, the associations, the self-help groups, the microfinance groups, cooperatives, women cooperatives down there, a large number of women who can use this and that can simplify their lives and make better women economic empowerment. So this will be a good space in terms of, knowing the challenge, but at the same time also finding solutions among ourselves. And secondly, using the exact structures for sharing what we know. I've seen M-Pesa in Nairobi, how everybody uses it. Why aren't we using it here? So we need to find the answer. Why maybe it's not accessible. It's not. Maybe it's a language issue. Maybe it's a geographic. It's a social norm, culture, and then finding the challenges, specific challenges for each region, for each community. I think we need to go further than the usual thing, and this hub, I'm sure, will help in terms of doing and facilitating that communication. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rahawa. So perhaps speaking to our very specific experiences and to add value in that regard, I mean, in IFC, we've been engaging in private sector development in Ethiopia for quite a while now. And in that regard, really, we've been working, sort of taking an ecosystem approach where we've been working at the upstream to really support efforts by the government of Ethiopia at various levels to create the enabling environment in terms of the legal, regulatory, institutional frameworks. To unlock private sector development, but as well as perhaps to also encourage investments in productive sectors. In that regard, what we've seen working in terms of making a difference, but as well as sustaining is one, working at the enabling environment, but two, also working both on the supply and as well as on the demand side in terms of skills development, literacy, and as very well noted by my panelists as well, in terms of tailored services taking into account the special needs of women and their very specific constraints. In that regard, specifically when it comes to access to finance, we've partnered with the National Bank of Ethiopia to really build what we believe are the foundations for financial inclusion of women, including strengthening credit information, encouraging the use of movable assets as collateral, and more importantly, really encouraging digital footprints that could actually be used to inform credit, hopefully as collateral substitutes very soon. I mean, from experiences in Ethiopia, but as well as in the larger Africa, we also noticed that programs that tend to do well are those that in fact combine financial services in terms of insurance, borrowing, or even savings along with non-financial features to educate, inform, provide opportunities for networking, but as well as for rewarding. And I can't really stress enough the importance of skills, not only in terms of building skills to be able to use and included in digital services, but as well as skills to actually contribute to innovation and to generate, some of the knowledge base for digital services, both on the side of the real sector, but as well as on the financial sector side. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me by saying that the establishment of this coalition is a great new step, and congrats to UNCDF. And might I add here also Women World Banking. I understand that it's a joint effort by both organizations. The value, the inherent value of such coalitions is that we actually connect. There's so much duplication happening out there. Only earlier this morning, I was speaking with other development partners who are involved in so many initiatives in this country alone on financial inclusion that inevitably divides the few resources that are available, and it ends up having recipients fight over these resources. I think it's important to actually have a coalition to amplify the dialogue and to amplify also networking opportunities, because at the end of the day, and co-financing opportunities, because at the end of the day, we want 2 and 2 to equal 5. We want, the sum greater than its parts. I'd like to take this opportunity to also say how delighted I am to see the endorsement and support both by the Prime Minister's Office and the Ministry of Finance to this, and the National Bank of Ethiopia to this initiative. I think it's important to have authorities and importantly also the regulators behind it. And I think if we want to see this, these efforts take off, the regulatory aspect is also fundamental. EIB is glad to support and will be, I think we will rush to be part of the coalition, but thank you so much.
Well, collaboration is very important, and as per our vision, as an entity that focusedly working the modernization of the national payment system and the enhancement of the women's or in general financial inclusion, I think we believe that we can't unlock our fullest potential without cooperation. So cooperation is important, and Women's Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub is a great example toward this, into creating the partnership in the collaborative environment so that these key stakeholders and policy makers and regulators come and discuss the needs of women and the challenges they are currently facing. So as it is which it will help us to see or identify our priority areas and set our targets so that the half part of the economy which are women's are not neglected in our products and services. So I think this cooperation is will enable us also to focusedly identify what needs are there in the areas of women. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for our panelists. Thank you for sharing your perspectives, your experiences. It's been a pleasure. So I would like to close this panel, and if I may leave you with one note, it would be that let's all engage with this advocacy hub. I think it's a unique opportunity for Africa and Ethiopia, and let's all carry the call to action for the sake of our generation and this generation, and I invite you to participate. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you to the entire panel for this insightful discussion. I suggest we give them another round of applause as they take their seats. Well, it is abundantly clear after this discussion that no organization, public or private, can handle this huge task and challenge on its own. We can only shoulder this together with fresh insights, as have been shared in this panel, an innovative approach, as we've just heard. And as we are now in the process of building a consensus on what needs to be done collectively, it is an honor to invite for the closing remarks, Her Excellency Huria Ali Mahdi, State Minister to the National ICT and Digital Economy Sector at the Ministry of Innovation and Technology. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Good evening, all, and excellencies, colleagues, and friends. It has been a pleasure to be with you today for the launch of Women Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub. I have enjoyed enormously the participation from all speakers, particularly those vibrant female voices. Please, let's clap for them. Listening to you all has inspired me greatly, and I look forward to continue to engage with you in the same collaborative spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the opportunity to share with you one of the issues which is closest to my heart and which is key supporting for generation, empowering all women and allowing them to be financially and digitally included is the most important to our country. As you all are well aware, and it's indicated here today, in Ethiopia, women account for a disbursement share of unbanked, and unfortunately, the gap is still widening. According to the World Bank socioeconomic, from 17.5% to 22.7% from the previous year, but the gender gap has been widening from 8.9 to 16.9. Even though we are increasing the number of bank accounts for women, but the gap gender is still widening. So it means we have a lot to do in this. The data shows that more focus should be given to women financial inclusion, and I strongly believe that digital is the way to close this gap. Digitalization and innovation has been transforming our lives. Technology advancements have opened many opportunities to economic growth and sustainable development in Ethiopia. As we have heard from the various speakers, Ethiopia has been undertaking important reforms through the digital transformation strategy and the goal to build Digital Ethiopia 2025. We are creating the foundation for innovation to lead the way. To take full advantage of this opportunity, it's important to ensure all women and girls benefits from and enjoy the digital advancement. I can assure you that without empowering women, we cannot think building a nation. Private sector, civil society, and governmental stakeholders have a central role to play to close the gender gap in digital financial inclusion and to develop an inclusive, knowledge-driven, and prosperous society. As you know, Digital Ethiopia 2025 is an inclusive economy. So we are working on digital divide, minimizing the digital divide. So initiatives like the Women Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub are vital to achieve this goal and catalyze collecting actions. So you are contributing a lot in building Digital Ethiopia 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to reassure you the government commitment to financial inclusion and that financial inclusion is a core element in Ethiopia's path towards accelerated economic growth, greater prosperity, and social development. In doing so, the National Bank of Ethiopia developed a national financial inclusion strategy in April of 2017 that aims to achieve universal access and use the range of affordable and high quality financial products and service in Ethiopia by 2025. Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, my call to action today is to encourage you to work together by becoming a member of the Ethiopian coalition to join Women Digital Financial Inclusion Advocacy Hub Network. Do not miss out the opportunity to contribute to support a digital economy that elevates all women's voice. Let me conclude my sharing deepest gratitude to the United Nations Capital Development Fund and its strategic partners, including the Better Than Cash Alliance, for having brought us all together and enable this platform to accelerate changes. So we need to work, to collaborate, to communicate, and to create, to see, to achieve women are achieving or including on the financial digitally, because all the opportunities are coming from the digital at this time for economic development and for economic growth. So women must engage to see Ethiopia great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your call to action was loud and clear, and a nice way also to remind ourselves that we have a limited window of opportunity to accelerate women's digital financial inclusion in the country. So let's keep that in mind. We've come to the end of our event. And before we close, let me remind you that the application process is still open to join the hub. Many organizations have already expressed their interest in joining, and we're sure their numbers will keep growing. And you will receive an expression of interest form and a survey by email after this event. So please watch out for that. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my colleagues, and everyone who's been involved in establishing the hub and organizing this event, I thank you once again for your active participation, for your rich contributions, and for your support to the WDFI Advocacy Hub, which is now officially launched in Ethiopia. We look forward to working with you all. We definitely look forward to this collaboration, and our team is available for any questions you may have. As Mariana said, talk to us. So thank you all for your attention and have a very nice evening.